Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Morning Show. Pretty sure those are not working. Why wouldn't my show start off like this? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Morning Show, the only fantasy football morning show hosted by a guy named Austin wearing a Thundercats t-shirt. This is going to be the quote unquote first episode. I have done some test episodes. I didn't like any of them. I'm probably not going to be a fan of this episode either. Mostly because I'm not a fan of my face or my own voice. And I'm probably going to say a lot until I learn to quit saying a lot. This episode, we're going to go through a draft I did Sunday afternoon with four of my kids. First year, any of them had played fantasy football, so I was super impressed by that. One of my boys, Braden, asked if I could start a league, and then so I included his two brothers and his sister, and they got some of their friends, and we went from there. So I'm going to do this with all full transparency. Let me put this back on the screen. So we did. What a share screen. I want to show my screen. I don't know how to show my screen. I promise you I'll figure this out. Remove. How do I add a second screen? I may not be able to share my screen. No? No? Share screen. Share screen. Hey, look at me. I figured it out. Man, that is smaller than shit. Go back to that screen that I was on. It tells the ranking. So it is a 10-team PPR. Oops. Shit. Yes, this is the joys of hosting your own podcast and live producing your own podcast. It's okay. I don't expect anybody to watch this episode anyway. With my luck, I'll have like 36,000 viewers. No, I won't. Why does ESPN hate me? All right, so fantasy football. I thought the best part of this was when it showed the rankings. It showed each of our individual rankings, and I was, last. The guy who writes about fantasy football for a living. Not for a living. I do it part time. Aspiring to do it full time. And then, like I said, my kids who have never done this before. All right, leagues draft recap. Was it there? It's on the league page. League. Oh. I'm sure this is going to make for excellent content. Me searching for this one thing I want to show you just to prove how bad I did it. There we go. Final standing projections. Trending up is Team Butler, one of my kids' friends. Team Oletz, one of my sons. Team Selena, my daughter. Trending down, Braden, who is the son who asked me to make this league. Team Blake, his twin brother, and then me, some old guy. So yeah, this should be interesting. So let's go to the recap. So just to put it out here, each draft, especially when there's not a ton involved or on the line, I've got some leagues I really care about, and I've got some leagues where I'm willing to try some different things. This was a league where I was willing to try some different things. Because it's just me and my kids and their friends, and I wanted to have fun doing it. So I went and I got my guys, and I didn't try and get all super sneaky ninja on them and get fancy, and I just wanted to have fun in this draft. So let's see. Yeah, Sunday, August 29th, 3 p.m. Snake draft, 90 seconds per pick. A couple of these guys ended up getting auto drafted. I don't remember who auto drafted and who did not. I somehow managed to end up with pick 1. Not on purpose. I actually can't stand having the first pick. I'd rather have the last pick in a round, or just a random pick, but having to have the quote unquote pressure of the first pick and getting it right and blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't normally enjoy that. A lot of people will say the consensus first pick should have been CMC, which I totally understand if somebody had gone that way. I am believing real big this year on Derrick Henry, so I went Derrick Henry with my first pick. All right. So Derrick Henry, Odell Beckham Jr., Christian McCaffrey. That is my son Caden. Kelsey went to my son Braden. Saquon went to Blake. Dalvin Cook, Kamara. Selena had the last pick of the round. So then Devontae Adams, Ezekiel Elliott, and then DK Metcalf. Now, interesting enough, like I said, my kids aren't really big into football. They're not big watchers of football. And I was kind of iffy on how serious they would take this. And I text the kids like 2:30, and I was like, hey, don't forget to download the app. You know, they'd already signed up, but I wasn't sure who had the app and who had just done it through the regular website. So I said, don't forget to get the app. And my daughter's response was, already on it, and I got a list of players I want. I was like, okay, you go, girl. So I was super stoked about that. So it's safe to assume none of my kids, I don't think, went with the ADP picks or the next man up pick. I think that some of them went players I just knew, like Braden knows Kelsey's good. That's why I picked him in the first round. Oddly enough, if you're going to pick a tight end in the first round, Kelsey's the one I would say do it. So I was relatively impressed by this. Round 2, it snakes back around with Selena, who gets Tyreek Hill. So she has DK Metcalf and Tyreek Hill off the jump. Jonathan Taylor, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones. Blake ends up getting Najee. Braden ends up getting Patrick Mahomes. Caden ends up getting Josh Allen, who was the quarterback that I absolutely wanted. But I ended up getting Nick Chubb. I have a relatively, in redrafts, I have a relatively strong rule that I don't go quarterback until the 10th round unless there's a huge run. So let's see if I did. Yeah, Matthew Stafford, Judy. Yeah, so I got quarterbacks with wraparound picks in rounds 10 and 11. Now, one thing that happened in round 9 was my daughter drafted a defensive. She drafted the Titans defense. Her stepdad is a Titans fan, and I'm probably guessing that's why. Also, they're not a bad defense, but I didn't get a chance to tell her. I went into this thing not telling my kids, telling them as little as possible. I wanted them to enjoy it. I wanted them to do it themselves, and I wanted them to learn from this experience, their first draft. That's one of the reasons I'm going to do this video. So if any of them want to watch it, they can. But yeah, sweetheart, don't pick a defense in the 9th round. I did at some point in time. I think Blake texted me during the draft, and he said, "Dad, what's a DST?" And I said, "Defense and special teams." And I told him at that moment, draft defense, special teams with your last 2 picks. Draft your kicker and your defense with the last 2 picks, which he had learned the day before. He'd actually done his first draft the day before that with some friends, which I think might be what inspired Braden to want to play, is the fact that he knew kids his age were actually playing. So yeah, don't draft, defense in the 9th round. Let's see. I don't know if anything really stands out. Daughter got Janu in the 3rd, who was a player I was really high on. I got Mike Davis in the 4th, because he's a guy that I've been high on. I also took Allen Robinson, which is kind of a homer ass pick because I'm a Bears fan. He's still good. I do feel like he's quarterback proof. So, oh man, she picked a kicker in the 6th round. Yeah. Braden, her brother, picked a kicker in the 6th round too. But they had fun, so I don't really care. Not something we would have done in a money league or a big league. And like I said, it's their first year. We're playing for absolutely nothing. I will probably consider making a trophy for them. I may give them all participation rewards just to screw with them. One guy did pick Tim Tebow. Like I said, I think they're all high school freshmen. So the kid may have not been aware of the fact that Tim Tebow didn't make a team. But some of the people in the chat did troll him for it. I laughed because it's kind of funny, you know. I was glad it wasn't one of my kids that did it. See, I got Marquez Callaway in the 13th round. I got Randall Cobb because I believe that there's a good chance that this year is going to be the Patrick Mahomes Revenge Tour. Young Wei Koo, I think is how you say the name of my kicker. I remember the year he came out a couple years ago, and I drafted him everywhere because his name is spelled Young Ho. And I just really want to have a kicker named Young Ho. He ended up being not that great, I don't think, that year, and then got better as years went on. I ended up getting the Saints defense. There's still a lot of good players left in the 16th round, which is always interesting. We do a 10-team. I mean, let's see, Mike Williams, Curtis Samuel, Leonard Fournette, Henry Ruggs. Just going to recap my players: Young Wei Koo, Saints defense, Randall Cobb, Marquez Callaway, Jalen Waddle, Matt Ryan, Matthew Stafford, Jerry Jeudy, Logan Thomas, Mike Evans, TJ Hawkinson, who I love, Allen Robinson, Mike Davis, James Robinson, Nick Chubb, and Derrick Henry. Something else that I have done, we did a slow draft for Eat Sleep Fantasy, and I did the exact same thing in that draft I did in this draft. I went 4 running backs out the gate. It's something I'm doing this year that has all of my league mates generally talking trash about me and giving me a hard time, but I don't care because I believe in chaos, and chaos is going to start getting people. Week one, you're going to lose a lot of players. The first 3 weeks, you're going to lose a lot of players, and you can't have too many running backs, in my opinion. It's way easier to find good receivers or decent receivers because there's, often three on the field. So, I figured I would go heavy with the running backs that I really, really wanted to get and see how that worked this year. But man, I keep getting a lot of shit thrown at me for getting Mike Davis all the time. I got him. I got him number 2 in a draft for Eat Sleep Fantasy, and I literally get a message about it one today. Somebody giving me a hard time, but I don't care because when chaos gets them, I'll be able to laugh about it. So whatevs. That is it. I'm going to generally try to stream these episodes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I do have kids and a life, so if I can't, it is what it is. I will try and post beforehand if I'm not going to be able to, if I'm not going to be able to actually record that day. I may do some. I'm still figuring this out. I'm still learning, but I wanted to go ahead and start getting episodes out here as the season got going. Generally speaking, Fantasy Football Morning Show is going to be a morning show that highlights the emphasis of the previous day's news and what it means to fantasy football. For instance, Cam Newton was released yesterday by the Patriots, and I was working on my rankings last night, and I found myself leaning towards adjusting the rankings to put Mac Jones in the same place I would have had Cam, because I don't think he'll do any worse than Cam. I don't think the running upside is there. He is younger, which means he's prone to make more mistakes, but he's also younger and got less wear and tear on his body, so we'll see what happens. Interesting fact, I pointed out on Twitter, I don't think that Alabama has had a viable quarterback in the NFL since 1957? 57 or 58. It's been a long time. It's been a good long time. It's interesting now there are 3 Alabama quarterbacks in the NFL: Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, and Mac Jones. So that does give them fairly good chances of producing somebody. But for all the Alabama fans who want to give me shit for saying that comment, talk to me when one of them wins the Super Bowl, which I hope happens because I am a Mac Jones fan. Not as big of a fan as I am of Joe Burrow, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, that is it for the first-ish episode of the Fantasy Football Morning Show. Gotta come up with a catchphrase. Yeah, I don't have a catchphrase yet. I can't do the Matthew Berry peace out. In my articles, I do thanks for coming. Thanks for the fish. I have to Google it. It's the Guardians of the Galaxy. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy quote from the beginning of the movie. So long and thanks for all the fish. That's it. Later.